Linkin Park, Up from the Bottom, let's talk about it. How y'all doing? Welcome to Let's Talk About It, Music Reviews, Season 11. How y'all doing? Welcome to the show. It's a Saturday night, and I wanted to drop an episode that, at first, originally, I thought that I was not going to be covering this at all. And then, I was looking through the trending page because I do already got my reviews made for this weekend and week. And I said, you know what? We might as well check out this song right here. Linkin Park is actually making a comeback. And I remember a long time ago, about, at the end of the year last year, I said that, rock bands could be trying to make a comeback in 2025. As you know, that time frame could be, coming back a little bit. And it definitely has. Guys, Linkin Park is fully back. The band's fully back. Now, as you know, if you don't know who Linkin Park is, the main singer from the band a long time ago, he did pass away. But there is a new singer now, so let's get into it. And as you know, we have to answer the question today on this podcast. These bands, once a couple of members, sadly pass away or, they move away from the band, there's always those two things going on. I will say most of these bands, they usually go downhill pretty fast, It's kind of funny, I guess you could say, how downhill most of the older bands that are popular back in the day, they try to come back. And, in newer times, and they can't even come back. So, Linkin Park coming back. Let's talk about it. Let's get into this song. This song is Up from the Bottom. And let's start off talking about this instrumental. Now, when I've never really talked about, my preferences or what I enjoy when I listen to more, rock, heavy metal tracks, when I get into this little different kind of bag here. But I really do enjoy the sounds that I'm getting from this production. For one, I do like the guitars on this, instrumental. Sometimes I think that, you try to listen to newer rock songs these days, and the guitars, they feel too electric. They feel too like I'm listening to somebody's just, taking some guitar loops and then putting them down. So there's not really much soul, The great thing about live music, the great thing about rock bands and all this stuff, live music has a sound to it. Live music doesn't just have a sound to it, it also has a feeling to it. So you have to get that feeling. And, when bands try to come back, let's, try to modernize our music here, they don't modernize it. They don't do the modern approach really well because they're trying to, add some more electronic elements, add this, add that. But I will say, I like it, if you can actually, keep the old elements of what's worked and what's sound good and what's gotten, addicted to people's ears. Keep that going on, but, how can you take that and add a little bit something to this? So, my first point is going to be this. I like this instrumental. I like the start of it. I like those guitars. I think the guitar actually sounds really nice here. And I love that, that old band kind of 2000s feeling is still around there. You could definitely could tell. I mean, I could imagine this song, being played on one of those, older rock commercials, or those older commercials where they actually had some fucking guitars, when they actually had, some real ass instruments, not some fucking Imagine Dragons or some stupid fucking band like that. So I'm glad that, you still get this kind of 2000s kind of rock kind of feeling going on here. You definitely feel that. You definitely feel that as you're going into the track, which I definitely do enjoy. But let's get into the first verse because, I like this instrumental. It's a nice rock instrumental. I like that there's also a guitar break. I'm really liking that there's still some solo breaks into the song. A lot of older rock songs, they have, these moments where you just kind of the guitarists go crazy, or you let the soloists really do their thing on the track. You definitely hear that when you're listening to this, and I really do enjoy that. I like that. The drums are really feeling great. Now, my only thing about this track, I do wish the drums on this track and the mixing, I wish you could hear the drums a little bit more. I feel like they're kind of faded in the back. You know, I hear more electronic sound effects in the background more than I hear the drums, which is a little disappointing. That's definitely a factor that I wish that was a little bit better here. Maybe the drums were a little bit more meatier on that side. And when I say meatier, just turn it up. You know, on the mixing, turn up the fucking drums. Let the drums really play out. But that's my only thing. I really wish the drums were, you know, had a little bit more life to them. I wish that the drums, you know, the sound of the drums was definitely there, because I can feel this guitar, you know, I can feel some of these elements. What I really wanted to feel, though, was, you know, that fucking, you know, that to those drums. You know, that's large volume. You can feel it. Your ears can feel it every time that you feel that, you know, drumstick being fucking hit on the drum. I want to feel that. I want to really feel that when I'm listening to it. And I didn't really feel that when I was listening to it on this song. So that's my only thing about the production. But overall, I really do enjoy everything else. Those guitars, I do like those electronic, you know, sound effects in the background, really doing their thing. And I like this overall atmosphere, this kind of dark kind of vibe that we definitely got. So I really do enjoy that. Now, let's get into my next point, which is the first verse. I like the first verse. I like the new vocalist. I like the sound. The vocals are really good. I looked in the comments, and the vocalist is named Emily. I like how Emily is sounding on here. I like the sound. The singing was really well. The vocals are really intense. There's moments where she gets even more intense, which is really enjoyable. It just makes the experience of listening to this song even a bit more. And I do like the vocals. My only thing that I wish that was on this track was, you know, maybe switching it up a little bit more vocally. I like how we get moments of Emily really intensifying her vocals, really getting on this track. But I wish there was moments where we had more vocal switch-ups, more moments where these vocals are intensifying, more moments where these vocals really shine out. So that's definitely missing on this track, in my opinion. But for what I've heard, let's talk about the hook. I really enjoy the hook. I think this is why this song sounds so good. I like it when those guitars, they fully get out. The instrumental unwraps as you're listening to it. Those guitars intense, I enjoy that. But the vocals on the hook are really fucking good. I like how they sound. They're very intense. I like how Emily is singing on here. It absolutely hits. And, you know, then I really enjoy that you really hear the drums on the hook. The drums start, you know, pounding in as you're listening to it. And as you're listening to these drums pounding in, going absolutely insane, Emily is also going absolutely insane on the hook, absolutely singing. You can feel the passion with the vocals. You can feel that rawness, you know. And I think, you know, that's a little underrated these days, you know. Do you really get these kind of more moments of artists really going, or I guess you could say a band. You get more band members, you know. Have you really heard vocals intensifying, actually showing some rawness, some real emotion? Have you really felt that from newer rock songs? I'm gonna probably guess not. I'm gonna probably guess that y'all only listen to the old shit that rock music has to offer. Because, let's be honest guys, that newer music, it does not be hitting the same when it's all electronic, when it's all, you know, auto-tuned up. And I really like how, you know, you don't get that auto-tuned up feeling. You don't get that feeling where those vocals are not hitting. You don't get that. So I really do enjoy that. Then my next point, though, I will have to say, I know Linkin Park is known for the rapping. I've heard some of sometimes I like the Linkin Park rapping, sometimes I don't. I've heard their songs over the radio. Sometimes the rap moments hit. And I'm going to be honest, sometimes these rap moments don't hit. So that's definitely a problem too when you're listening to it. But I'm going to say this. I really do not like the vocal effect with the rapping. I think that's the only problem. If the vocal effect from the rapping wasn't like, when I used to listen to, the rapping sadly has this effect on the vocals where, it's, you hear the guy rapping, but you hear this second layer of vocals, and these second layer of vocals are deeper, and honestly, guys, that is where I don't like that vocal effect. It gives the auto-tune feeling that you're listening to. So that's my only thing about the rapping. I don't like the auto-tune on the rapping. I don't like the auto-tune effects. I don't like that deepening your voice effect. It doesn't work. It just makes the rapping not sound good at all when you're listening to it. So that's the only thing I don't like about this song is the rapping. But honestly, if the rapping was such a little part of the song, it was such a little section, that honestly, it doesn't really knock off the song that much. The only thing I will say is, again, that ending rap verse, it got even worse because that deepening rap voice that, a lot of, I'm going to say a lot of people, I just don't like that vocal effect. I don't like how it sounds. But honestly, other than that, I really enjoy this instrumental. And I think when we talk about Linkin Park, Up From the Bottom, I like the first verse. I really like those vocals. Sounds really good. That hook is just absolutely infectious. I love how heavy and, that rock sound really shows out. And honestly, hey, that's honestly a good thing. So overall, I really enjoyed this track. I'm going to give this track a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10, what y'all think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I don't know. Let me know, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you're on YouTube, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you get your podcast at, make sure you follow, turn on notifications. I'll see y'all later. You have a good one. Bye.